Hello and welcome to CapCity BTC, Sacramento's premier Bitcoin and cryptocurrency group serving Northern California. Enjoy the presentation.
Without further ado, I'd love to turn it over to Isaiah, and we welcome him to our club. So, snaps, applause. Isaiah, take it away.
Oh yeah, thank you, Joe, for the invite. Thank you all for being here. And I'll jump into where I can share the screen here. And I just want to make sure if everybody can see the screen, should be all good. Thumbs up. All good.
Good.
All right. So before I start, just want to give a little bit of background about myself. I've been in the Bitcoin space since 2013. I've been around to see a lot in the space, to see it grow. And the reason I wrote this book is when I was, learning trading, learning mining, doing consulting and educational courses. A lot of my clients were Black, and they were very, very skeptical of Bitcoin simply because of how the media portrays it. And the reason I wrote the book is, in my opinion, they portray Bitcoin much like they portray a lot of Black Americans. Most of it's not true. Some of it's kind of overshot. And one of the things that I wanted to discuss is the fact that Bitcoin is for everybody. So if it is, then Black Americans need to be a part of it. So I wrote this solution-based book, and just want to make sure we have a solution-based discussion today. Won't be in front of you too long speaking. I would rather do more Q&A, but we'll run through a few concepts here that are in the book. If you do have the book, thank you for purchasing. I won't give away everything, but these are a few of the most important concepts in the book that I want to discuss and also get feedback from you all as well. So we'll discuss Bitcoin in the Black church. We'll go into the educational side of Bitcoin and how that can be implemented. We'll discuss sports and entertainment, two industries that Black Americans are very involved in, and how Bitcoin can help. And lastly, we'll talk about the Blackchain Project, which I started a few months ago. And at this point, we're basically at the seed funding stage, and we're getting around to that, which I'll discuss later. So Bitcoin in the Black church. So of course, church, religion, everything's denominational. I am not a religious man myself. However, over the last 400 years, the Black church or churches that are considered AME Zion, Christian, Baptist, these places have been the financial epicenter for the Black community. And a lot of times, if you go to a lot of Black neighborhoods, you'll have more churches than you will other services. You'll have 5 or 6 churches on one street, and you'll barely have any healthcare or any type of financial services. So one of the things you have to realize is to meet people where they are. Since 82% of Black Americans attend some sort of religious service, one of the things that I believe needs to be implemented is the fact that they can accept donations, and that their financial discussions that they have at church should involve Bitcoin. I included this quote that says you can print a QR code on tithing envelopes, the church website, or the back of fans with the MLK Jr.'s face, which is very popular in Black churches. And I also want to make sure people realize, even if you don't attend church, or if you do, and it is not a mostly Black church, these solutions can be used for you as well. One of the things I saw in my research was the fact that there are basketball teams, there are organizations that are actually using mining in order to get donations. And I believe that the Black church should take advantage of that, maybe with CASA or CASA or Open Node, being able to provide churches with mining software in order to establish a broad network of miners. I believe that is one good solution to use for long term. Also, as a store of value, I believe that the Catholic Church has trillions of dollars worth of wealth because it was basically accumulated through or with real estate, with gold, with other assets. And I believe Bitcoin as a store of value long term could help the Black church in order to build wealth in their communities. The ability to accept Bitcoin, to store it, to hold long term for my holders out there. These are all possible solutions that I believe can be achieved with simply a QR code. And last but not least, with organizations like BitGive and others, usually churches are already 501c3 compliant. So it's not very much of a task to accept Bitcoin as donation. And with companies like BitGive, who I've already discussed, this will be pretty possible in a short amount of time. So I believe that in the Black communities where we have these churches, that Bitcoin should be accepted for donation and mining as well for long term, because they have the most space, they have the ability to open their church at any time and have somebody run and make sure everything is running fine. So these are all possible solutions with the Black church. Going forward, education. The quote here: since Bitcoin makes you inherently entrepreneurial, students who sell candy, shoes, or video games can start to accept Bitcoin. And in reference to this, I was referring to either kids or teenagers. I remember selling candy as a kid when I was in high school. The ability to accept cash is okay. However, the ability to accept Bitcoin is also possible. One of the projects I've been involved in is a Bitcoin summer camp here in Inglewood, California, at Crypto Blockchain Plug, being able to teach kids, because no offense to the adults, but honestly, most adults are kind of set in their ways. However, kids understand Bitcoin pretty easily. They use Fortnite bucks, they use 2K money, they use video game money, the ability to send digital currency, and to teach kids in a summer camp setting, in my opinion, is very valuable. Because in the public school system, which I was a part of, I was a teacher when I first got out of college, you are very restricted on what you can teach. And because Bitcoin is such a broad subject that covers history, covers financial, covers tech, I believe summer camp would be the best route to do that, because you have more of an open type of curriculum. So that is one solution. My mother is actually the CEO of the long-running summer camp in Charlotte, North Carolina, called Innovative Learning. And same thing there, Bitcoin summer camp, where they can learn about Bitcoin and blockchain technology and apply that over time. Also, one of the things we're starting to see a lot of are college blockchain groups. Kids who are in college who have a lot of free time on their hands would be a very valuable asset, I believe, to our community, because a lot of the things that we may be tied up in with kids and bills and life, college kids don't have that responsibility usually. So when they start blockchain groups and they have the ability to be innovative, especially at historically Black colleges and universities, we don't really see any at all. I was at North Carolina Central for a tour. I was also at North Carolina A&T, and they're very excited about it, but they all had almost the same question. They all asked, why haven't we heard of it? Why is this something that's kind of hidden? And I just want to make sure that in all of these college communities, that these Bitcoin and blockchain groups can be created, education can be brought, and people like yourselves can come and speak and show your knowledge there as well. One of the things I want to get established as a Bitcoin ATM owner is the ability to implement these ATMs on college campuses, so that they will have easy access. Some kids I know for a fact are unbanked, and the ability to get Bitcoin peer-to-peer is sort of a struggle nowadays. However, ATMs could provide a solution. I agree that fees can be a lot less, and I think on college campuses, those fees can be reduced drastically because of the crowd that you're selling to. And also, you can actually bring more funds to a school if they buy their own Bitcoin ATMs and are able to provide that for students. So I believe that is a solution as well. And last but not least, endowment funds. Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Princeton, I believe, all of these schools have come out with news that they have endowment funds that are either investing in cryptocurrency directly in the future or cryptocurrency companies currently. And unfortunately, the biggest endowment for historically Black colleges and universities is about 800 million, doesn't even cross the $1 billion mark. And exactly zero historically Black colleges and universities have any type of Bitcoin cryptocurrency strategy in their endowment fund, which in my opinion, you're selling yourself short in the long term, because that has to be a part of your financial solution. And if you want to change how things are, you have to do something different. We've done everything else and the shit didn't work, or hasn't worked. Most people have, in the Black community, we have the same median value of income since the 1960s. So even being more educated, getting more jobs, even having a Black president, none of that worked financially. And I think that having these endowment funds, investing in these college students with Bitcoin, and of course, learning blockchain technology can be a solution. Moving on to sports and entertainment. For those of you who know the musical artist 50 Cent, he accepted Bitcoins in exchange for his album and earned over 700 back in 2015. He actually didn't know about Bitcoin. I believe he had a financial advisor that did it for him, or kind of came up with the concept for him. And for him, it was good because those holdings increased to about 7.7 million, which is a little bit more now. This was last year when I wrote this, so a little bit more now. But yes, he gained more exposure, he got more marketing out of it, and he earned more money. And in industries that are dominated by Black Americans, these are the ways that you can actually increase the amount of money that you get and your marketing. One of the things I did notice was the freedom of blockchain music platforms to put out music and have people support you without having to go through some of these centralized platforms. Unfortunately, a lot of technology gets very centralized and they start to take a huge cut of how much musicians make. I think blockchain music platforms are one of the solutions that could help to free up a lot of our artists. And over time, as they become more popular and people become, pretty much used to using it, I think they will be a better choice long term. Also, if you've seen in the news, some of you who have heard of Russell Okung, he was a lineman for the LA Chargers. He now plays for the Carolina Panthers. He's pretty famous for saying, pay me in Bitcoin as an NFL player. And one of the things I've seen in the sports and entertainment world is that's one of the only industries where we are 70 to 80% dominant as far as representation. And as far as influencing children, influencing the mainstream media, a lot of times anything they say, people listen to. And if you have athletes who can understand Bitcoin, I actually have a lot of athlete friends who do understand Bitcoin, want to accept Bitcoin, but they won't say it out loud. They're kind of under the thumb of whoever the general manager or the owner is. So they won't say it out loud, but I promise you, there's way more athletes that want to do this. And this, in my opinion, is a solution to move away from the fiat system we already have. If you have people who are making millions of dollars wanting Bitcoin, then people who don't make as much will likely change their tune as well and do the same. The Sacramento Kings, shout out to Sacramento. They actually have the mining for good strategy where they mine cryptocurrency using their own facilities, and they donate it to different organizations around Sacramento. The fact that they are able to do this means that other teams can do the same. They have huge facilities with a lot of electricity that they can use, a lot of space. And I believe this is a very efficient use of space, and that this should be something on the agenda of pretty much every sports team or anybody who has these massive stadiums that are just sitting there, especially over the last few months. I mean, we could easily have mined a bunch of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency at these places, and they were just sitting there the last few months. So that is definitely one solution I want to see implemented as soon as possible. And Spencer Dinwiddie, who is a guard for the New Jersey Nets. One of the things he did was he sold his shoes for cryptocurrency. The Cairo shoe, as it's called, was the first of its kind. And if you know about the shoe market, it's very, very influenced by younger people. Jordan, Nike, Reebok, it doesn't matter. Whoever is selling shoes, if at any point they can accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I think that should be the onus going forward, because we have to try and transition from this fiat system towards Bitcoin. The only way that happens is whenever people start to accept it and use it, in my opinion. And last but not least, the Blackchain Project, which I've been working on the past few months. This is a project so that small business owners can raise capital with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The first tier is a digital marketplace in order for you to market yourself as a business who accepts Bitcoin. The second tier is for investment in order for you to be invested in or to have investments with Bitcoin. The regulation side is what's holding us back, but we're working on that as well. And the next tier after that will be something like a blockchain syndicate fund, where funds are raised using Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And when those funds are raised, there are also a vote attached to it so that you can invest in whatever business is voted to accept it. So that is going to be the final tier for blockchain. And like I said before, regulations, everybody knows in America, for some reason, the government has to get their money. So regulations wise, still working that out, but we'll get to it. Also, peer-to-peer loans and crowdfunding. We want to make sure we have that on our platform. And we are working with some pretty big names who are looking at investment right now. I don't want to give it away, but it is a company in San Francisco that's looking at, very big company in San Francisco that is looking at a partnership in order to implement this on their platform as well, in order to increase the amount of visibility on these businesses, as well as increase the amount of businesses that accept Bitcoin. Because I believe once that happens, we'll have more of a circular economy. And even though the Black community should be involved, this is for everybody. Anybody with a business who wants to, in my opinion, get ahead should have a Bitcoin and blockchain strategy. So like I said before, these are some of the bigger concepts in the book. And I don't want to hold you too long. So I want to transition from those solutions into the Q&A session, and any questions. It doesn't have to be about this subject, but anything in general, would love to answer it and have an open, honest conversation about some of the solutions Bitcoin can bring to not only Black Americans, but to everyone who wants to enjoy and use Bitcoin, because it is the first money of its kind, where the barrier to entry is not based on your race, social class. It's not based on where you live. Anybody can use it. So I definitely want to make sure these solutions that we discussed today can be implemented across the board. So with that being said, I'll push it back over to Joe, and I guess we can start with the Q&A session.
Hey, Isaiah, this is Jack. Can you hear me? Just a quick question. Where's the best place for us to buy your book?
The best place would be bitcoinandblackamerica.com
Yeah.
or Amazon. I will say, literally an hour ago, I checked on Amazon and they sent me an email about suppressing the book for sales for unknown reasons. They gave me 6 flags on the book. I have no clue why, but I've seen people say they try to buy on Kindle, they can't buy it. They tried to buy the book on Amazon, they couldn't get it. Through the website, I can't even get a lot of my inventory that I need. However, I'm working that problem out tonight. That'll be over, but it is interesting that this book was just fine last year, and then this year it took off, and now it's being literally suppressed. That was the exact word they used, suppressed sales. So yeah, I'm dealing with that. Literally an hour ago, I just checked. So bitcoinandblackamerica.com or Amazon should be fine later this week. So those are the 2 places.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks. And thanks, Isaiah, for a great presentation. We have a couple of questions coming in. So folks, if you have a question in the Zoom group chat, just address it to everyone, and I'll do my best to keep up with the scrolling. Oh, wow. Okay, you're taking me seriously. They're all coming in fast. All right, Isaiah, we're going to keep you on your toes. So first question, how can we implement this mine for good idea as a practical plan?
Oh yeah, so I'm speaking with Casa and OpenNode now to try and get a discount on bulk order of nodes that can be set up at these different places. And me and Russell Okun, who I discussed earlier, are actually discussing a Bitcoin and Black Church tour, as well as with BitGive. I've discussed with them being able to distribute these nodes to different charities and churches around the country. So on my end, that's what I'm doing. But as far as what meetup groups can do, if you do attend a church, if you do have a favorite charity, you can approach them about accepting Bitcoin. And if, like I said before, you have something easy to set up like Casa or OpenNode or some other solution, I would go with that. However, if you want to do it the old school way, mining, setting up old school miners, the ant miners, that's fine as well. So I would say just actually saying it to these organizations, as well as helping them set it up, and not so much worrying about getting paid for it. I think that's a big deal. A lot of people worry about. I do a lot of stuff for free just because I know long term, it's more important to get these people, acclimated to the system. So I think that's a good way to get started.
Great. There's a follow-up to that. What would the physical steps be? Sorry, maybe there's a little bit of a typo there. Just making, yeah, I think you answered that and some of the physical steps, and whoever asked that question, if they'd like.
It was me.
Oh, go ahead. Perfect.
It's fine. I just wanted to know how it would practically work because I think it's a
Oh,
really great idea. But like,
Oh yeah. I
it's a
think
hard
the
thing to
easiest
sell,
way is
you know?
the
Like, it would be a hard thing to sell if I went to a church or something like that. And I just would like to know if I went with a plan, maybe it would be easier for them to accept it.
Absolutely. So that's why I said I've reached out to BitGive, who specializes in giving charitable organizations Bitcoin for investment or for donation. I've
Right.
also discussed it with Casa and OpenNode because you're right. You do want to show up with a plan. You don't just want to show up and be like, "Hey, you should accept Bitcoin." And when they say why, it's like, just because, you don't want to say that. So yes, definitely show up with a plan. And of course, if you know how to set up mining machines, I haven't done it in a long time. That's fine, but usually plug and play works a lot better. The ability to plug it in, set it up, do it in a matter of minutes to an hour is great. And the best part about them is they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to maintenance it or do it over time, except small amount of maintenance. But yes, I think that is very possible. The amount of knowledge that's in here right now, I'm sure there's a few places in Sacramento that could have it fairly soon.
yeah. And a little known fact, BitGive is actually based in Truckee, so just up the hill from us.
Yeah.
So Connie lives up there, I know, and operates out of her home office, as I understand it. So yeah, no, that's great. Next question, do we need to encourage a circular Bitcoin economy, receive and spend for new entrants, or a buy, receive, and hold as a first step?
As a first step, being able to accumulate Bitcoin as a business and hold it, or to buy Bitcoin and hold it, usually is a great way to start. However, if you want to think long term, which I always do, the ability to accept Bitcoin, to spend it, to learn what Satoshis are, to figure out exactly how to get around a lot of the clogging up of the network, you need experience. And you don't want to, you would rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So if you don't have that experience, you've never used it, yes, I can say, yeah, just buy and hold. And then one day in the future, we'll have this economy where people spend it, but you have no clue how that works. That to me is detrimental as well. So I think, yes, we need that circular economy to start now. I'm not saying everybody needs to spend their Bitcoin. I probably want to give away your dirty fiat more than anything. But I would say you do need to learn at least a little bit. You can buy a small amount of goods or services just to see how it works, to see confirmation times. That's one thing people don't really understand or hear about, to maybe test out Lightning Network payments, things of that nature. All of this is just educational so that when it does become mainstream and you are doing business in a circular economy that I think will happen in the future, you'll be ready for it.
Great.
Hey, real quick, Joe, I think an important thing that we need to also communicate with people is the Satoshi idea. So many of us, we get caught up in talking about Bitcoin, and then we scare people off because they go look at Bitcoin at being at $9,000 and they go, oh my God, I can't have any part of that. So when we start having the conversation of what a Satoshi is and that there's a million Satoshis within a Bitcoin, then hey, you can buy $10 worth of Bitcoin and it's called Satoshis, and this is how much it is and how you can do it. We fill in for that gap and create that hurdle that makes it easier to jump into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great.
I agree with you there because a lot of people don't know you can buy a percentage, and a lot of people don't understand the fact that one Satoshi could equal $1 one day, so that the Satoshis that you're accumulating are actually way more valuable than you understand.
Right. It's like, dude, just buy $10. Buy $10. Buy 100 if you can. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And people think they need to be rich to get into Bitcoin. I deal with that all the time.
Just get started.
Just get started. Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
Great. So keep those questions coming fast and furious. This is great. Next question for Isaiah is, are you hearing anything from athletes or influencers about people investing in the future, similar to what Spencer Dinwiddie, forget me if I pronounced that wrong, did with his contract? This really intrigues me. Want to learn a little bit more about this exciting opportunity. So.
Oh yeah. So as far as the tokenizing your contract, I haven't heard it as much from anybody that I know. I do know there are a couple of NFL players that have discussed it with Russell Okung. However, I can't really give away their names. Now, as far as knowing about Bitcoin, as far as using Bitcoin, as far as investing in it, there are plenty of professional athletes that do it. They just will not say it in public. I know a lot of them personally. I grew up with Steph Curry in Charlotte, co-MVP at a basketball camp when we were younger. Like he definitely, he doesn't mind. He definitely has Bitcoin. He's in the Bay Area too. But a lot of these athletes, the fear of what their owner or what their marketing or whatever their sponsors would say will keep them from saying it. But trust me, a lot of them own it and use it for whatever goods and services they need. But yes, that is definitely a thing.
Fascinating. Cool. So it was like a follow-up question before. Will we be able to buy your book on Kindle once that matter is sorted out? So you still plan to sell via Kindle?
There's no reason it should have been shut down. That's why I'm pretty adamant about getting that set up. But yes, Kindle will be available. And the audiobook is coming as well
Cool.
this month. So yes.
Awesome. Next question. I agree with your stance about the importance of BTC and crypto finance 2.0 to the Black community. What do you see as one of the primary drivers to getting Blacks to adopt and use crypto?
So one of the first
primary drivers. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, one of the first steps is I've always said, and this is why I wrote the book last year, there will have to be some sort of drastic event to get Black people to change their way of thinking on finances, simply because a lot of people in the Black community are still catching up. They're still just trying to make it, just trying to get along, get to a point where they can be established. So they don't really want to hear about new innovation or innovative things. A lot of the older Black people that I've talked to now, younger, a little bit different, they do. So in order to find that synergy, the event we just had with coronavirus after George Floyd, with the printing of trillions of dollars by the Fed, this is the type of event that I've always said needed to happen in order to basically wake people up that we need a different solution. And in my opinion, that's starting to happen now. And unfortunately, a lot of people listen to famous people. So you do need that sort of influence. I don't really care what famous people have to say. Most of them don't really know what they're talking about, but their influence is very widespread. And I can tell you right now, I can talk to them blue in the face to a group of kids, but if one popular rapper says it on one song, they will literally all go and buy it. So one of the biggest things I want to try and implement is the educational portion of it. And then, of course, financially being able to see that this is a farce. I think people are seeing that now. And what backup options or what plan B do we have? Because before Bitcoin, I always wonder what would we be talking about right now if Bitcoin wasn't around? And that's kind of how I come with Black people. It's like we wouldn't have had any other solutions. And this is, I think, is a great way to go about it.
Awesome. Next question. Bitcoin carries the challenge of transaction times and fees for transactions. How do you see younger people overcoming this?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that has been invented in order to address this is Lightning Network. I don't think it's a complete solution to everything. I think side chains, I think Lightning Network, all of these things are a part of the solution. What you have to understand whenever you're doing these transactions is that if it's for payments, zero confirmation payments, they do exist. However, currently, Bitcoin is better as a store of value. And it takes time because money starts off as a store of value. It moves to a medium of exchange and then later a unit of account. So it takes time. Transactions are possible. But if you have longer transaction times based on the network, you would just say, well, that just means that everybody is using Bitcoin. That means it is popular. So you may have a little bit longer wait time, a few more fees. However, those solutions to get around it are being implemented. It just takes time. You gotta have patience because when I first got started, there were people who were worried about just simply onboarding. They were like, how do I even buy Bitcoin? Who do I know that has it? And now you have a million places to buy it. So that is, in my opinion, it'll be solved very soon. We'll have a concrete solution, but there are a lot of solutions that are working towards that. Like I said, Lightning Network and side chains.
Great. And Justin says, I'm involved in a program here in Memphis that could help you with introducing crypto to Black churches. So if maybe Justin could private message you through our chat and give you his email address or some contact information he's comfortable sharing, perhaps you two could connect that way. And Justin, if you're comfortable sharing your email with everybody else, you can post it to everyone. But if you want to do that privately just with Isaiah, we understand.
Well, I'll post
I'm happy to share.
Anybody who has a question or a follow-up question or just send it, just email it to me after this. All good.
Great. Next question along the lines of churches as well. Sometimes churches and organizations are hesitant to accept cryptocurrency due to tax implications. It's somewhat of a gray area. Have you worked on this issue?
Yes, so I have discussed this as far as capital gains, as far as accepting it as donation. What I always tell them is keep it in Bitcoin. If you continually keep it in Bitcoin, if you store it that way, if you want to go back and forth, that's fine. But yes, you will have tax implications. You will have to deal with everything that comes with changing back to fiat. But keep it in Bitcoin, and you should be fine because, in my opinion, you should be storing it as value. And if, as a church, you say to yourself, "Hey, we want to store it in value, but volatility kind of scares us," then we can work that out as well as far as third-party payment processor to do that for you, to change it over to fiat. And then you would just have to basically download the CV form from whatever exchange you use and have your accountant take care of it from there. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just people don't know. And when they don't know, they're scared, and then they just shun it and like, "Oh, well, we're good." But just explaining it to people that way, I always suggest just keeping it in Bitcoin.
Cool, great. Next question from our very own Brian Barton. When are you coming to Sacramento? I know I kind of teased this earlier, but maybe you can talk about that. Knock on wood, if we're allowed to go outside.
Okay. So I guess I'll make this announcement now. I wasn't wait to the end, but I have a second book coming this year. The second edition of Bitcoin Black America, even more solutions, way more of a much larger directory, and a lot of resources that people can use, a lot more intuitive tutorials. And one of the first places I need to go is Sacramento, because like I said, in December, I was invited to Underground Books and was unable to make it due to sickness. So one of the things I want to make sure I get is that I am coming to Sacramento this year, if possible. If I can go, if we can travel somewhere, I will be in Sacramento. And I'm not too far. I'm in LA, so not too bad. I definitely want to make it to Sacramento.
Great. And we'll see what we can do on our end. We're connected with some folks that are involved in policy discussions about crypto at the state level, being here in the capital. So we'll see if we maybe can arrange some other folks that you can interact with, and hopefully make it more than worthwhile your trip out this way. That'd be awesome.
And we can meet in the park. That's fine too.
Right, 6 feet apart. We'll wave.
Yeah,
okay.
6 feet apart in the park. I'll get a megaphone. We'll make it happen.
Right on. Cool. Next question. Cash App is doing a lot to offer a first bank to many people who have been unbanked before, but it's still in the traditional financial rails. They do also offer Bitcoin. Wonder if there are partnership opportunities to outreach with schools, churches, and fundraisers.
Yes. So I actually had a conversation, interview with Jack Dorsey in Square Crypto last week. And one of the biggest things with Blackchain that I'm building now is speaking with him about implementing that exact thing, the ability to implement a directory or a marketplace of churches, of organizations that accept donation, businesses, into something like Cash App. With a click of a button, you can either donate cash or Bitcoin. That is something that we discussed in that discussion. So I won't say, it's definitely happening, but those discussions are happening, and I talk to Jack at least once a week. So yes, I think that is, in my opinion, the easiest way to implement it, because everybody already had Cash App, and you kind of want to meet people where they are. So I'm glad they implemented that. And I can promise you that Square Crypto has some very big things coming that will probably surprise you. And you just have to wait to see.
All right. Well, I like that. Next question. First of all, great job, Isaiah. Mentoring others is very rewarding in my career in IT. As I gain knowledge in blockchain/crypto, I'd love to teach others what I learn and learn from others as well. What are good avenues to get involved with sharing and teaching my knowledge?
So I would say you're already doing the first step. Join a meetup group, people that you can actually talk to who know what they're talking about. Because you can get online and you'll just have a bunch of moon boys and FOMO people who just tell you buy this because it's going to $1 million, whatever. I've been around crypto long enough to know most of these influencers, YouTubers, they'll just say stuff to get you to watch it. So I wouldn't say, go to YouTube first. Go to a meetup group, and then once you get the information from them, visit YouTube, watch the tutorials. Our channel, The Gentleman of Crypto, we have over 20 hours of tutorials. There's other great channels that you can watch. I would also say reading the white paper read the white paper, because a lot of people who are in this industry never even read it. So you can at least see where you started and then move from that point as well. And if you want to actually show other people about it, I would say first educate yourself. You don't want to be one of those people that does 2 hours of reading and then all of a sudden you're a financial consultant telling people to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I've seen that plenty of times too. So you want to educate yourself. I won't give it a time period because everybody is different. However, I will say you need to have enough knowledge to explain it to a child. I would say at that point, that's when you kind of know what you're talking about. You can get a kid to realize, oh yeah, I just go on phone now, send it, and I don't have to worry about that. At that point, that's when I think you can start basically spreading the word about Bitcoin.
Great. Next question, what part of the Bitcoin message most resonates with Black Americans?
I think the two biggest, because they're pretty much a tie, because a lot of Black Americans attend church. Bitcoin in the Black church is always big. People are always interested in that. And then also remittances. A lot of Black Americans are not originally from America, or their parents are not originally from America. They're from the Caribbean. They're from African countries like Ghana, Kenya. Remittances to those countries is very important to a lot of Black Americans, because you have the ability to send money without having to use Western Union and MoneyGram, who basically preys on the fact that you need to send this money. I think Bitcoin resonates a lot, and it's something that as the industry progresses won't be such a big barrier to use. Because I know a lot of people who do send those remittances, once it gets there, they still have to use some sort of payment system or fiat gateway to change it. But once that starts changing a little more, I think that would definitely, get rid of a lot of the money aspects. But remittances and the Black church are probably the two biggest ones. And, going forward, hopefully it'll be more, as far as involvement from Black people, but I couldn't tell you what would be the most important. It's usually just what I see on the book tour.
Got it. Okay. Next question, how do you see the future of crypto's value appreciation versus depreciation, and what's the safest platform to buy crypto on?
The safest, I would say I use Uphold. I believe that is one of the best. Also, Swan Bitcoin for dollar cost averaging, I believe is a great strategy for people who are just beginning, because for the most part, you're not a trader. I tell people that all the time. 90% of traders lose their money. And if you want to accumulate Bitcoin, the safest way to get it is not necessarily trading, but dollar cost averaging with something like Swan Bitcoin, Uphold. We discussed Cash App. Some of the wallets that you can buy within the wallet, like Edge Wallet, like BRD Wallet, those are pretty good ones to use. And then on your desktop, if you want to have privacy, Green Address is a good one. Electrum, it's a lot out there. Mycelium is really good for security. So yes, those are a few of the ones that you can use.
Great. Next question, what are your thoughts on Ethereum and DeFi for the Black community?
So I believe DeFi is sort of like the ICO market of 2017, without as much of the scammy stuff, but it's still very early, and the liquidity needed for DeFi to work and the marketing needed for people to use DeFi does need to increase. However, it is a great way for the unbanked to actually have a financial market that they can either trade in or gain assets from. So I think it is a possible solution. It is something I write about in the second edition of this book. So I do think it is possible as a solution. I don't think it's the end all be all. And I do think because of the centralized nature of Ethereum, some people, it may rub some hardcore Bitcoiners the wrong way. However, I will never keep solutions away from somebody. I just want to present it. And if they want to use Ethereum or some of the DeFi platforms, that will be very helpful. And as far as loans, writing about banks and the racist loan practices they've had over the years, it's absolutely a lot better to go to a platform where there is no what's your race, what do you look like, where do you live at, and you can just get a loan based on how much crypto you own. That's very valuable for the future. But once again, everything has its problems, its issues. It just takes a little bit of time. I believe the DeFi market passed $1 billion in market cap not too long ago. So it is getting there. And I do think it is a possible solution for the future.
Sorry, Joe, may I do a follow-up question? So,
yeah, if there's a clarification, please go ahead.
Yeah, that was my question early in the beginning. So that was a two-part question. So how do you see the future of cryptos? Because the Fed has printed out a lot of cash, and due to that, during the pandemic, how do you see the future of crypto appreciation versus depreciation?
Okay, so appreciation wise, I believe that most cryptocurrencies will gain in value because of the shift and the movement of money from the fiat system into the crypto market. A lot of the gold bugs, a lot of investors who are starting to see the value of Bitcoin, they will move it into Bitcoin. Bitcoin will gain value, and then Bitcoin always spills off into cryptocurrencies. Smaller cryptocurrencies, medium size, doesn't matter. So most of these cryptos are basically at a point where it's price discovery. You don't really know how much these cryptos are worth, how much they're supposed to be worth in the future. It's basically price discovery, a lot of speculation. And in the future, I believe a few will survive, but we all know most of these cryptocurrencies are shitcoins. They're not going anywhere. They were literally just a way for you to raise money for some people. But for the most part, so a lot of them will go away, and the ones that actually have viable business plans and a community behind it will succeed in the future, in my opinion. Whether you like them or not, there are some that will succeed just based on the amount of money people will make and the hoopla that comes with it.
Thank you.
Great. Before we get to the next question, we actually had a comment. Justin mentioned that he set up the program for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital to accept crypto as a form of donation. So I think a virtual round of applause is in order for Justin.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Next question after that is the new book a sequel or a second edition?
It's a second edition. It's a completely different book. It's still dealing with Bitcoin in Black America. Has more solutions. It delves deeper. It's not as base level as the first. First one is for people who may have never heard of Bitcoin before. The second edition is for people who either read the book or already know about how Bitcoin works, and they want to get down and dirty with a lot of the solutions and digging deep on how we can implement stuff today, because time is of the essence. And that's the reason why the second edition is coming out this year.
Cool. Awesome. Next question again from our very own Brian. Do you know Ali from the Blockchain Advocacy Coalition? Think maybe we should meet with state legislators. I think I'd mentioned this before, but Ali Medina, whose day job is the mayor of Emeryville, California, is leading the Blockchain Advocacy Coalition, which is a group of crypto companies and constituencies that frequently make their way up when possible. With social distancing, make their way up here and talk to the legislator. She has the ear of the governor's office and talking about issues of crypto and blockchain. And I know the issues of inclusion and diversity are near and dear to the governor and to those involved in the legislative process. So thank you, Brian, for bringing that up, and we'll certainly do our best to get you involved. But if you know of anyone yourself, there's any way we can help with that, please let us know, Isaiah.
Okay. Well, I will say, I wrote a letter to the FinTech Task Force after they had that meeting a couple weeks ago. If anybody else wants to write a letter as well, it would probably look good if they had dozens of letters about the same thing, advocating for either digital payments as far as the stimulus checks they're sending out, or sending that money to platforms that would allow you to buy Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So that is one of the letters that I've written to the FinTech Task Force, and I would love to speak to any state legislators to try and get on the same page. That synergy, I think, is there to an extent. We just got to find out what it is and get it going, because a lot of times bureaucracy takes too long for my liking.
Understood. All right, great. Next one is actually a request. Please add Memphis, Tennessee to your tour list. We'd love to have you speak to our Blockchain 901 group, remotely, of course.
Yeah, like I said, anybody or any place that would like for me to speak there or do it online, I dropped my email in here. I'll do it again, just so if you want to email me about it, we can set that up, definitely. I would love to talk with anybody in Memphis.
Great. Thank you for that, Justin. And I guess along those lines of helping out wherever we can, someone else mentioned they know the owners of Capital Books. So if you want to do some more touring here in the Sacramento area or anything like that, I'm sure there's some other folks on here that know of bookstore owners or have a favorite spot where they curl up with a book. So we can mention those to you through Messenger. That's great.
Absolutely love it.
All right. Well, changing gears a little bit with our next question. Have you found it difficult to push back against Bitcoin from black churches versus black mosques? What is the sentiment on crypto like when you approach them? When approaching them, excuse me.
So usually it's about the same. It's the fact that they don't know about it brings that kind of scared, I don't know if we should do this answer. However, one of the best parts is that a lot of them that I've talked to about it from 4 or 5 years ago have reached back out. So I won't say it's, they're just shunning it completely. They really just listened to the media, unfortunately, because if you remember back in the day, Bitcoin was for drug dealers, it was for scammers, it was for Silk Road murderers, whatever. It was the worst thing you could ever. So they just didn't want to touch it. However, now that it is in their eyes legitimate, I believe the answers have changed, a lot more. However, getting them to implement it is another thing because of the politics of a lot of churches and religions. Getting them to do it, it takes a little while, but I'm willing to take that time.
Great. Next, we had a request if you could put a link to your YouTube channel, Gentlemen of Crypto here. That'd be great. And if you don't have it up in front of you, Isaiah, maybe one of our leadership team can find that and post that for you if you don't have it readily available.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
We have one of our research guys take a look at that. Jabron, maybe you could help us out.
Oh yeah, I got it here. There we go. All good. All right there. All right.
Oh, thank you. Cool. Okay, Justin posted his email address. That's great. Justin at blockchain901.io. So he posted that to everybody. So if you want to scroll up, that's around minute mark 7:56 p.m. So if you wanted to scroll up and get that email address, you're welcome to do that. Those of you on the call. Next question, can you talk more about video gaming and crypto? Oh, two cool subjects.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as a former game art teacher from back in the day, I can tell you the ability for kids to learn is so much greater with video games, and they are not going anywhere. If anything, they're getting more advanced, and virtual reality gaming is coming as well. Implementing crypto or blockchain into these games can teach them about it. However, I think for the most part, the type of centralized payments that they use right now makes more sense to them. However, I believe that will change over time as far as cryptocurrency being implemented and as far as decentralized apps with these games. I believe cryptocurrency will be used a lot more. Now,
and I'm actually the one who's asking you right here for being in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, we host the official Unity 3D Unreal Engine Magic Leap, and we just did a big event with William Shatner. So it's pretty much a lot of VR, AR, crypto stuff going on here in Miami and the Miami Bitcoin Center and all of our groups down here. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, and I just spoke with Annalise from the.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I interviewed with her with the VR gaming group. So trust me, I definitely see it coming. Oh, it's already here. It's just the ability for kids to use it. I believe they won't have the mental gymnastics to go through. They'll just say, "Oh, it's digital money," like before. Maybe a few different things they need to learn about. But yes, cryptocurrency will be a big part of gaming and a great way for kids to learn about it.
It's awesome. Thanks.
Great. Awesome. Next question. One of the important things I see crypto and blockchain offering the Black community is the opportunity to have and pass generational wealth. How do you feel about that?
I believe this is paramount simply because there was a concerted effort to take wealth out of the Black community over the years in America. And I believe that Bitcoin can offer us a solution to either get that wealth back or to create a different kind of wealth that isn't so much, that doesn't kick out other communities, but is more inclusive. If you ever heard about the GI Bill and the fact that there was billions of dollars given away to white American families, as well as land, all of that was denied to a lot of Black Americans who fought in World War II, which sort of kicked off the poverty we saw in the 40s and 50s. A lot of times people don't realize as a lot of the money was being made in Black communities with Black-owned businesses, then integration came and a lot of our best businesses and people left the Black community for what they thought was better. So yes, generational wealth has been a concerted effort to stop that. However, with Bitcoin, anybody can use it. It's all about merit. It's all about what you actually do. So I believe that generational wealth can happen. And it's not just, Bitcoin number go up. It's just going to be whatever. I just feel like a transfer of wealth in this country and around the world is happening, and it will go to something like Bitcoin. So being able to own this asset long term will help with what I believe will be generational wealth.
Great. All right. Next question. There's a war on cash coming as governments realize that they will be able to surveil and control every financial transaction. This will lead to further financial oppression. As a replacement to the benefit of cash transactions resonates well with the community. It was a bit of a mouthful, sorry. Did you get that?
Yeah, so I'm with you there. The war on cash has already started. And one thing I will say is Bitcoin itself is a great solution, but you have to understand that there are people in the Bitcoin industry who are allowing this financial oppression to continue. I won't try and put down anybody's company, but if you're Coinbase right now, I don't see how you can look yourself in the mirror and say you're a Bitcoin company because you literally just let Chain Analytic just sign a deal for the government to take all of the information from it, which sort of defeats the purpose of Bitcoin. So it's like a crypto bank at this point, which is fine. You're a businessman, you want to do that, but that's not Bitcoin. So when people talk about Bitcoin, don't conflate it with onboarding ramps, with third-party services. They're businesses. They want to make money, that's fine. Bitcoin does its own thing, and if Bitcoin continues on the route it's going, we just had an all-time high in hash rate. We have nothing to worry about long-term. In my opinion, Bitcoin will either point where you have to choose between using the Federal Reserve System or Bitcoin, or we'll have some sort of synergy where both can sort of, work alongside each other. Because if you compare it to technology, a lot of people don't realize that Linux is used by everything. Everybody uses Linux and doesn't even realize it. I think Bitcoin might be that at a certain point. Bitcoin will be used by everybody and nobody really realizes it, with maybe a sort of front cover for it with a digital dollar or whatever. So you need a scarce asset that can be relied upon in order for your cash to mean anything. So Bitcoin is going to do that anyway, and fiat currency can do whatever they want. But if the third party or on-ramp boarding people want to use Bitcoin for other things, that's fine as well. So I think, it will resonate, and the war on cash has already started. And as you can see, if you've been to a bank lately, they don't have money. They don't even have to. 0% fractional reserve. I couldn't even get quarters out to wash clothes the other day. So the war on cash has already started.
Got it. Next question is, what do you think about Handshake with a capital H?
Not sure about Handshake. I will have to do more research on that. Now, if are we talking about a company, or are we talking about like a digital handshake, like through servers?
Graham, do you want to clarify? I have a capital H here, so I assume it's a proper noun, but I don't know if Graham, if you're on, if you want to.
Yeah, Handshake is a proof of work blockchain that is attempting to disintermediate ICANN, so the domain name issuing system. So instead of getting your domain from GoDaddy and paying them rent, you can actually buy a TLD, and then you can sell people subdomains.
So you know that to me. I would love to learn more. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Graham. Before we get to the next question, Cameron Law dropped off, but before he did that, he private messaged me and said if there's anything he can do at Sacramento State. So Cameron is the head of, so for those that haven't met Cameron before, I know he wasn't able to show himself, but he's the head of the Entrepreneurial Center at Sacramento State University. So he's deeply connected and interwoven with the startup and business community. So he's offered anything you need, just reach out to him, Isaiah. And as well, that applies to our group as well. So Cameron's a great asset to the startup community and entrepreneurs across the board in Sacramento. So it's nice to have his endorsement and for him to leave that invitation open to everybody.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Cameron. Yeah, I would.
Cool. Yeah, he's a super cool guy, really well connected. So definitely reach out to him for anything you need in Sacramento. Let's see, going on to the next question. Oh, at the time of 8:06 on the chat, Isaiah shared his YouTube link and email address. So for those that didn't capture it just yet, you can scroll on up and do an old copy paste if you'd like. So this one's kind of long. I'll read through it. I think there's a question somewhere in here. And Crypt Loco, you can chime in if you'd like. Even if we get over the unit bias, tech barriers to entry, regulation, and security, the final boss is fiat-denominated thinking. How do you think people can break the link with fiat in their marketing of Bitcoin, et cetera, that will invariably lead to people at best seeing crypto as a stock, like we see with the Doge craze recently?
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest differences between cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. A lot of cryptocurrencies, like Doge, like others, are speculative. You will have sort of these TikTok kids who pump Doge. I don't blame them because there were a bunch of people doing that in 2015 with other coins. It's just what happens during price discovery. However, to get over those types of biases, fiat-denominated biases, in my opinion, I believe the value that Bitcoin will bring, when you have the ability to sell it, you won't want to, because you'll realize Bitcoin is better money. And that could take 10, 15 years. You have to realize the Federal Reserve is 107 years old. So there was a lot of work put in place for this mindset to come about. There's pretty much nobody alive who was here before the Federal Reserve. So they can't even fathom the fact that there were multiple currencies being used. Greenbacks, you had other communities who started their own currencies. Cryptocurrency is history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. It's literally just what people were trying to do when they were more free in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I believe that those units will be based off of the value of the community that uses it. If the smartest people and all of the most forward people thinking are using Bitcoin, at a certain point, I think that value will be so much you won't want to sell it. You will have people who speculate, but that's in any market. However, with more liquidity, you won't see as much volatility going forward. And if Bitcoin hits what I think will be over 6 figures at a certain point, there's no way I'm selling. I would much rather use Bitcoin.
Got it. And just a quick reminder from one of our members, you can either private message Brian or Gibran if you want to leave your email address to be included on our meetup list, or you can just go to meetup.com/Sacramento-Bitcoin-meetup, or you can scroll up to get that link. So just a quick little shameless plug for our group. So thanks, team. Back to Isaiah. What do you see as the risk for Bitcoin?
There's a few. Some of what I see is personal risk, losing your private keys. That's one risk. Security-wise, I've had a hack attempt before, but none of my Bitcoin was stolen because I had two-factor authentication in place and some of the other things you need to protect yourself. So you will have that. Another thing is bureaucracy and regulation. We've already seen where companies or businesses have come out and said, yeah, Bitcoin is bad, or Bitcoin is tulips, or Bitcoin is fake. I think Mark Cuban said he would rather buy bananas. The risk in that sense is the fact that media may make Bitcoin look bad when it really is not. And some people may not be able to use it simply because they refuse to be vigilant or to use different ways to accept it. I think it's risky with on-ramps. Certain on-ramps are starting to limit the amount of Bitcoin you can buy. I remember when local Bitcoins was wide open, and now they have a $20,000 limit. I remember when Coinbase, Gemini, all these, they were much more open than they imposed limits on you. So these are some of the risks we can see Bitcoin either being suppressed or pushed out. The good part is Bitcoin is an international currency, and there are places that I believe will allow this innovation to keep going. And also going forward, if the final boss is the Federal Reserve, the biggest risk may be data privacy going forward. The ability to find everybody who's using Bitcoin, everybody who has blockchain technology, some sort of cryptocurrency, and try to either demonize or prosecute them. That time may be coming at some point. However, the biggest thing with me is if you're not, in my opinion, if you're not willing to go all the way with Bitcoin, then probably shouldn't even be involved unless you just want to be a speculator. So those are some of the risks. However, you just have to stay vigilant and use the education that's brought from people here as well as myself to protect yourself.
Okay, great. Next question, is Bitcoin a store of value or transfer of value? If store of value, more people join higher the value, does it not make it like a Ponzi scheme?
No, because there is no there is no joining fee. There is no Bitcoin company that I do this. I started doing this just because I liked it. But as a Ponzi scheme, no. Everything that has value that can increase in value over time is not necessarily a Ponzi scheme just because you got in first. You do have first mover's advantage on certain things, but there are things that were started at a certain time and lost value over time. So as a Ponzi scheme, Bitcoin could do that, but over time, more people join doesn't necessarily mean that the value goes up. The value goes up with more innovation, with more on-ramps, and when people join and are active in the community, then yes, the value does increase. But as far as value increasing because you're there first, that's pretty much every market you ever look at ever. Real estate, gold. If you were there back in the 40s, you have more money now. That's just how it is.
Great. What do you think about Monero, which is a privacy coin, versus Bitcoin, which can be traced?
I like Monero. You do have to, at the same time, remember it's centralized, and there is a possibility that it might not be as private as people say it is. However, privacy aspect, ring signatures, all of those things are pretty impressive so far. And I believe the team that they have working on it has kept themselves mostly anonymous, which is very smart to keep it private. So I'm not saying don't buy it. I still have a small amount of Monero from a long time ago. So it is a relatively good coin, in my opinion, but at the same time, it's still centralized. So you still have to deal with sort of the politics there.
Okay. Next question. So we have the obligatory Federal Reserve question. In October of 2019, in a press conference, the Federal Reserve announced that they were actively investigating their own cryptocurrency. Do you think that this new coin produced by the Fed could topple or overthrow BTC?
No, because it's not cryptocurrency. It's not. It's not something that is cryptographically signed by a decentralized network. It's a digital version of the dollar. That's all it is. And they're going to use the word cryptocurrency. Facebook even used the word cryptocurrency for Libra. It's not cryptocurrency. Please don't be fooled by these people. And I don't think it could topple or overthrow Bitcoin because it has nothing to do with the money that they print out and then just assign a digital dollar value to it. It has nothing to do with that. This is totally different. And the only competition, really, I don't even think they're trying to be competitors. I think they're trying to make it so that you can only buy Bitcoin with their money or buy anything with their money, because as an on-ramp, they can still make money from it. So I think we haven't won, but yeah, Bitcoin doesn't have anything to do with the Fed printing more money.
Okay, great. Oh, Nina had to drop off. She said, my favorite talk so far, awesome. Tell Isaiah if he wants to have some European Commission contacts or contacts in Brussels, there's an active BTC group there that she can connect you with. So that was from Nina. So cool, thanks Nina. Some folks saying it was good to see you. They had to drop off, unfortunately. Some jabs at Mark Cuban. Okay, finally got to a question. What's your thought on quantum computing and what this could do to, Bitcoin compromising the encryption?
Oh yeah, so I've seen quantum computing as a possible security risk. I've also seen quantum resistant Bitcoin improvement plan changes that could happen. I've also seen quantum resistant blockchains being built as we speak. So do I think it is a possible security or attack vector? Yes. However, in technology, if you're around long enough, anything that could possibly happen, I can guarantee you there are people working on making sure that isn't possible so that the encryption isn't broken. But it is a possibility. Very small in my opinion. And of course, for that technology to affect Bitcoin, it would have to work and they would have to target just Bitcoin. In my opinion, if somebody has a quantum computer and they want to actually take over something, you probably want to take over the grid, or you probably want to take over the water supply. I don't think Bitcoin as a $200 billion market cap will be the thing that's targeted by quantum computers or whoever has the power to harness that and maybe change the blockchain. So it is something to worry about a little bit, but not too much. Shouldn't stay up at night thinking about it.
Great. Next question. Any cryptocurrency tech or innovation that you are excited about that's on the horizon?
Well, Jack Mallers, he just released Strike, the Strike app, the ability to buy Bitcoin from your bank account and send it to your bank account very easily using Lightning Network. I believe it's still early for it. However, if you can send micro payments or small amount payments really quickly for a small fee or no fee at all, to me, that is sort of how you can get what we say in gaming or with kids using it. I believe the biggest transaction was $27 so far, so it's a lot of micro payments. I think that will have a big onus on how we use cryptocurrency, because it's not just for humans. I believe artificial intelligence and robots will at some point adopt some sort of cryptocurrency payment mechanism to make it run over time. And these micro payments through Lightning Network, through something like Strike app, is a possibility. So I was pretty excited about that last week. I was also excited, well, PayPal is implementing so-called Bitcoin to their strategy. I don't really care for PayPal as much, but as far as onboarding, any press is good press for our industry. So if you have 200 million or 100 million people that use it, I believe that's a great way for people to at least see it and then be able to onboard from there. So those are two of the things that got my attention lately, and a lot of innovation in the blockchain space is happening as well. So just wait to see.
Great. Follow-up or next question, what's the ETA on Blackchain's syndicate?
We're looking for June 2021 to start the syndicate and for the app to be available before the end of the year. The only thing that I said before is holding that up is regulations. And unfortunately, we can find a way around it. I believe we have a good strategy to get around those regulations, but that's bureaucracy for you. You got to deal with them. And unless you want to be on the front page of the news, you got to kind of deal with them for now. Now, as far as internationally, that's sort of the route I'm thinking about going. But yes, end of the year for Blackchain, the Blockchain Syndicate by June of next year.
Okay. And Isaiah, if I can help you, if you're looking for lawyers in the crypto space that, would operate with, the idea that they could work on a smaller budget or be flexible and nimble, I'm happy. Something that might help you overcome these obstacles.
Ooh, yeah, love it. Yeah, I'll talk to you. Cool. I'll definitely be talking to you more after this. So.
Cool. Well, I'll email you a follow-up to that. But yeah, thank you to the person with that question. So some folks dropped off saying thank you. That's awesome. What's your favorite project besides Bitcoin? Company, organization, person? I think you kind of alluded to some of the projects you're excited about, but is there any project besties out there?
Besides Bitcoin, I like Metronome. I did a little bit of work with them. I think they have sort of a different mindset when they talk about monetary supply and how it can work long term. Let's see. I like Monero. I'm glad somebody brought that up earlier. Privacy is very important. I think in the long term, Ethereum will, as a centralized project, take off as a business. And because of the connections they have with Microsoft and the ability to build smart contracts, they basically open Pandora's box for anybody to build a cryptocurrency. So I think that is some of the best projects. Not too many people that I know of, but those are some of the organizations or companies.
Yeah. I guess the only person you'd probably put Satoshi in there, right?
But yeah, it's like I said, who knows who he, she, or they are.
Right, exactly. I don't want to know, right? Next question. Have you looked at Wax for gaming? And Wax is spelled with all capitals, W-A-X.
I have not. That's another one that I would love to email it to me. As much reading as I do, keep up with everything. But yes.
Isaiah, that's me again in Miami. So we actually, that's what William Shatner just joined our Wax Advisory Board. We're actually a guild. So yeah, next time you want to come down, visit Annalise and ourselves here. She actually live streams for our Magic Leap or AR VR as well. So yeah, I'll send you an email. We'll keep in touch.
Absolutely, yes, please do that. Any type of project, I would love to read about it and of course get involved because it's so much in this space. So many innovative people. Love
Yeah, playing video games in Miami, there's far worse things you could do, I suppose.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, we're supposed to have our annual gamer cruise right now, a 4-day gamer cruise, and we
Oh
forgot to
no.
take down the Facebook event page. So I posted some ducks, ducks on some wood, saying, yeah, technically, yeah, that is the cruise this year. But, you know, other cruises going out. So.
Oh geez. Cool. Next question: have you ever used a Bitcoin ATM? I think we have some folks with some Bitcoin ATM backgrounds in
Yeah,
our group.
I actually own one, and
Cool.
actually used a bunch. I've actually helped some businesses get Bitcoin ATMs. After bugging them long enough out here in LA, I would show up, and a month later, it would be a Bitcoin ATM there. So I bugged enough people to get some implemented, used it myself, plenty, and own one myself. So yes.
Right, and I guess those of you who have attended our meetups are probably used to me saying there's no news on the state licensing of crypto in California. So I think that's a foregone conclusion. It's not going to happen this year, and from what we hear, it's probably not going to happen next year. So if you're looking for an area where there's a less of a barrier to entry, you know, that could be one of many opportunities in crypto here in California. So
I will say my
I
ATM
guess
is not in California, so yeah, definitely didn't want to have to deal with that on the East.
Hey,
right
Joe.
on. Yes.
There was a recent presentation. I forget who it was through, but one of the senator from California was actually on there talking about crypto, and it was like last week on a Tuesday. And he was interesting because he was talking about blockchain technology in California, and he was basically gave a little spiel about it. I'll try to see if I can figure out where, but it was interesting. So there was actually somebody there talking about it.
Wow, how about that?
Oh, it was great. I was like, wow. I was like, no, this is crazy. It's like, I sat there and watched it. I don't remember who it is. I'll try to see my notes. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. And thanks for bringing that up, David. I do know that there were some hearings that were canceled on the subject of crypto that were supposed to take place. In fact, Assembly Bill 2150, which originally was supposed to be the licensing for crypto, turned into something about securities that really just stated the obvious, and then it transferred into, hey, maybe we should study Hester Peirce's recommendations from the SEC, which, by the way, are very pro-crypto. It's like a 3-year, you know, trial time horizon with securities and things like that. So California is just all over the map, but nothing seems to be moving forward. That's subject to change at any time, and this will probably be out of date the moment we post it. But I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
I do remember it was put on by Bybit last week, I think it was.
Bybit, okay.
I'll try to see if I can find it real quick and then put it in the chat.
Thank you. Great. I love the discussion and dialogue. Here's a great question for you. What are your thoughts on Brock Pierce running for president?
Well, I would encourage everybody to go to the Gentleman of Crypto channel. We just dropped the interview with Brock Pierce at 5 today. So we just talked to him about it Friday. And after speaking with him, he sounds like other politicians. He gave good, well-practiced answers. However, I do think he does have a more of a nuanced approach to the Bitcoin and crypto industry because he was a part of it from the beginning. And one of the things I think that could happen is he could at least start the conversation. He wants to try and be more of a third party. And he actually even invited me to try and be his running mate. And I'm like, no, never. I can't be in politics at all.
Wow.
I think I'm old enough. But at the same time, he, like I said, he gave great answers. And check out that interview. You can see for yourself. He talks about police violence, healthcare, Bitcoin strategy, international stuff. So yeah, check that out and you can see the answers for yourself. But me personally, whenever I talk to politicians, I expect politician answers. So not really anything too deep.
Understood. Looks like we have maybe one more question. So if anybody else has one last question, I have one more here on the board, but we're gonna need to kind of start wrapping things up towards the bottom of the hour here. But follow-up, well, I should say a follow-up question. Next question is, in your opinion, is XRP a cryptocurrency? So Ripple.
It's been called a lot of other things, but I guess But I wouldn't suggest using it. It's very centralized. It's kind of pushed out to everybody, pump and dump, in my opinion. But if you find a use case for Ripple, other than the speed, of course it's speedy because nobody's using it. But if you find something other than that, then somebody can let me know. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. It has been called many things, many of which aren't flattering. But anyway, so I guess on the lighter note, does anybody else have any more questions? We want to be respectful of time here. We've got maybe a few more minutes, and then kind of open it up a little bit more. I know there's been a great open dialogue, but anybody have any questions or any follow-up thoughts? You might have mentioned this before, Isaiah. Well, in case somebody wants to formulate their last question in the interim, you mentioned coming back to Sacramento. Are there dates set in stone yet, or are there some? It's just kind of open. You have an open invite for when things clear up.
Yeah, it'll be after August, and I want to try and get there before October, simply because I have my first child on the way in October. So that month is.
Oh yay! Congratulations.
Thank you. So I definitely can't do it in October, but towards the end of the year or September is where I'm looking at.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll keep that
when
in
you
mind.
come, definitely let us know what
Absolutely.
the time is.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if I can get it for September, then that would be perfect for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'd love to show you a good time, and yeah, make sure you get connected to some of the right folks around here in policy and government, and hopefully there's some voices that or some folks that can hear your voice and some opportunities.
And we could push it out to our group and our email lists and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite certain that Allie would make the time and come up from Emeryville and be a part of that discussion. That'd be great. Okay, I guess that we have one final question. Any advice on explaining Bitcoin to your parents? That's a great closing question.
Oh yeah, well I will say it was a little easier for me. My parents didn't push back as much, but the question I usually always start with is, do you trust your government? And that answer is 90% no. And then from that, say, well, then what are your plans for our money system if you don't trust our government? And if they don't have one, that's when I refer Bitcoin, say it can be a plan B. Start small, put the medicine in the candy, make it seem like they need it, and then later they realize they should always use